This video, we got a 6x100 meter workout, an update with Aperto, a 5x10 meter acceleration workout, and how these items fit into the down week, which is basically my recovery week for training. I actually get really down sometimes during the down weeks because I have a hard time doing nothing. I'm always so eager for the progress, but then all that ruminating burns me out, and it is really frustrating at times. I don't know if any of you guys can relate. Even though I feel down and slow, we're going to start with the 6x100 meter workout. Since we're starting with a nature walk, I found that I can't even see. There's so much snow. It hurts your eyes. Oh, what's good, bird? They can go in the snow.
Interesting. If the intention here was skips, especially for distance, we're good there. Like, what we can also do is a speed bound, which is a little bit more common in the sprint world, I would say. A lot of people would actually start with power skips because you can develop vertical force and turn that into horizontal force. And obviously the vertical force may translate a little bit easier for some people that haven't been sprinting. But it's all about picking and choosing your battles based on the time of the year. We start in September, we got a lot of time. October, a lot of time. November, okay, it's time to get started to some things. Interesting. Definitely look like you're getting quite a bit of height. We would do a lot of these just to build your capacity for kind of explosive movement, and we can keep it very generalized. Like, we don't even have to address sprinting form so much as just technique and drilling, and do stuff like this. Build the capacity for explosive movements, technically refine the ones that have to be a little bit slower right now.
Now moving on to the main 6x100s.
I like this a lot. It looks very comfortable. Maybe can we be a little bit taller, like in stills? As we're kind of coming over that step, you can just see maybe a little bit of slack here. I'm even open to the possibility that this doesn't have to be perfectly straight, just as braced as possible, which means that there's a little bit less bend here. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Bless you.
Thank you.
This one definitely looks a bit more underneath yourself. I can assume that we...
Yeah, the main thing I was focusing on here, at least for this workout, was not casting my feet out so far.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main focus. Yeah, that's all I could think about. But even with a slower average speed, I still tend to cast my feet out a little bit. So I either have to work on it from an even slower point, or I have to tell myself a different cue in order to make the change and see the result on video.
That's good. And maybe completely opposite of what we saw in the last one, we see, like, as you're going over this supported step right here, a lot taller, a lot more upright. And as a result, the hips in a much better position. And even still getting that knee height all the way through the finish right there. This is a really good one. And truthfully, it's a lot harder to run technically correct at this pace than it is all out. Because when you're all out, you can kind of stay connected with it. It just enables us across the board to start taking steps closer and closer and closer to being ready for a 100-meter bout.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into the 5x10s, but first, a message from our sponsor. There's like 10 different things I just learned right here. The Aperto system, the software that you see on the screen right now, gives me a way to see the exact speed where my technique breaks down. And because I had a specific intent behind the second speed, the second workout, which is to correct the casting of my leg, and I have feedback to tell me how it was, I've gained a mental association between how it looks, how it feels, and how fast it actually is over two different speeds. And it feels like the understanding of myself and what I'm doing with training is being fast forwarded, because there's so many takeaways from the comparisons that you can make between these different environments. And in addition to this, imagine if Coach E and I didn't speak the same language. Would a visual comparison not be an easier way to get a point across if there's nothing to be lost in translation? So if everyone had these data points to compare themselves to and other people, everyone could keep progressing, because you can clearly see the cause and effect relationship between the things you do in the warm-up, the process that you take throughout the drills that you do, the cues that you tell yourself during the main set. The Aperto system is evolving as this killer tool for comparison. And not only can you compare different techniques, but you can log your recovery, because if I was slower during this workout in particular, and I fail to recover in the future, I know the cause and effect relationship of everything up to this point. So I can be more informed as we go forward in training. So it's like, as I keep feeding information into the system, I gain a better and better understanding of what I'm doing and how I respond, so we can continuously individualize my training. And I'm not gatekeeping this technology. You can send me your sprinting videos so you can have your own analysis at apertotech.io. And while you're out there, click that subscribe button. So I'm really sore today. My booty's really... Ooh, we're gonna see how good these accelerations go. It's my down week anyway. I actually have a less overall volume. This week is kind of like my saving grace because I've been like pushing myself really hard. As I continue to build more work capacity, these down weeks will turn into more of buffers where we can do something special with the programming when I want to peak for competition or I want to do a little bit more speed endurance within the training cycle. So we'll see how these accelerations go. I'd be surprised if they go well.
I've seen some of the best performances from athletes when they've felt the worst physically. Now this is nice to see. That's a arrow right there, straight line, even all the way through the hands and everything like that. Very aggressive. I can tell you're getting comfortable there. With that being said, though, you set up these first steps really, really nice. And to see that, we actually have to look at the backside of some of these steps right here. So nice low heel recovery, maybe a little bit higher in the recovery phase of this step than it needs to, but you do a really, really good job of getting back on top of it. And then this step right here, maybe a frame where it's headed more forward than it is up, and as a result, it's easy for you to get front side again. Looking to land on the ball of the foot. And if it helps, once you start getting to steps out here, all you really have to think about is stepping down instead of down and back. Because we'll see maybe where it starts to get hard to maintain out here, where it's just very hard to get front side. Well, if you can finish that movement and all you have to think about is striking down from there, it'll be okay. As we get to that line, it starts to get a little toey and reaching, because that's definitely in front of the hip right there. I would always say even in 10s, imagine that you're taking it further, because a lot of people run 210 and it kind of doesn't look anything like what a 30 will or anything like that. Okay, this one looks different. Maybe not as aggressive as a line right there, but a better job getting back into the track right here. Good step right there. It's good. And then it reaches maybe the same problem area right there, where it's just hard to get front side and create yourself room to get there. And a lot of these steps end up quite a bit in front of you on the way out of here. You might see here, like if we don't get as much momentum in the first initial steps right here, we get to the fourth step and we're frequent enough, but we haven't built enough momentum. Strides aren't being maintained long enough out the front to really continue that stride, and it just starts striking out in front of us a little bit. Ooh, that's a good one there.
Yeah.
And so I see, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just gotten good at reading body language. You tap back into that Christian Coleman kneeing the forehead a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can just see from the body language, much more aggressive. However, I want to point out here, we've talked about showing the face of the hips down the track as opposed to at the ground right here. This is reasonably good, but you can see where this arrow wants to go. It knows it wants to go as far down the track as it possibly can. As a result, if maybe our hips were positioned maybe a little bit more like this, just tilted maybe a degree or two further forward, all of this might be in a straight line, maybe a couple degrees further forward. But either way, still much better than previous ones. We see adequate dorsiflexion right here, and I can guarantee you're about to throw a step back into the track real quick. Yep, that's a good step. Good step. Ooh, there we go.
That was a good one, yeah.
There we go. And you see how this will be like a good example, and maybe we start to define the capacity in this workout to like step 4 or so. And you'll see what I mean in a second, because like we were talking about in the other ones, if you really force that right there, you've created enough room where all you have to do is step down as opposed to down and back. And you get it on that right side, but that's powerful. That's what I'm talking about right there. Best rep of the set so far. And this is what being an athlete is all about, adjustments. I like the effort in this one. What you can see maybe is little bits of energy or instances where maybe it goes a little bit up, like right there in this last step, if I play it through.
Yeah.
Off that step, and it truthfully, it's in the backside of the heel right here. This starts to shoot up. There's a little bit of the hip rising as a result of that calf coming to the glute and stuff like that. And you can see a ton of space right here. Maybe just a bit more than we need, but I'm happy to see the capacity because eventually we can direct it. Oh, there we go. Jesus. Oh man. Like all the way out the gate. That was a really, really good effort there. Let's be honest, when it's skins, like you know the dog's about to come out. It was a combination of wanting to make some of the adjustments you've made maybe a little bit more true to absolute intensity. And it looks good. I mean, this guy is a different beast already. This is a guy who's starting to know these techniques and where his steps need to be, and is already starting to be able to differentiate what's wrong with a given effort and how you can adjust it and everything like that. And this is just 6 weeks in. And honestly, it takes quite a bit of time for this stuff to even really start to show the benefit of, like 12 weeks sometimes. And you're making aggressive, intense adjustments in training, which is great to see.